We initiate the deprogramming sequence by identifying the modern phenomenon of logomania, not as a fashion trend, but as a mass psychosis of voluntary servitude. You must understand that for thousands of years, the concept of branding was reserved strictly for livestock. A rancher would burn a specific sigil into the flesh of a cow to signal to the world, this living creature does not own itself, it belongs to me. The brand was a mark of submission, a declaration of property rights, and a guarantee that if the animal wandered off, it could be returned to its master. Today, the civilian walks into a luxury boutique or a sportswear outlet and pays a month's salary to voluntarily apply that same searing iron to his own chest, his feet, and his head. He calls it drip. The architect calls it self-immolation. When you wear a t-shirt with a massive logo across the front, you have fundamentally misunderstood the economic equation of media. In a sane world, the publisher, the entity that displays the ad, gets paid by the advertiser, the entity that wants the attention. A billboard owner charges rent, a TV station charges for airtime, an influencer charges for a shout-out, but the civilian has been psychologically inverted. He pays the corporation for the privilege of being their billboard. He pays a premium to do labor for them. This is the definition of a negative IQ trait. You are paying to dilute your own identity and replace it with the corporate identity of a conglomerate that views you as a statistic. You are a walking, breathing, unpaid intern for the marketing department of a holding company in Paris or Oregon. The logo on your chest is not a badge of honor. It is a receipt that proves you are easily manipulated. We must then analyze the psychology of the empty vessel. Why does a human being feel the need to plaster another man's name on his body? It is because of identity insolvency. The soft man has no internal sense of self. He has not built a character, a mission, or a reputation. He feels small. He feels invisible. To compensate for this internal void, he attempts to outsource identity. He believes that by wearing the sigil of a winner, Nike, Supreme, Gucci, he will osmose the qualities of that brand. He thinks that if he wears the shoes of the athlete, he shares in the athlete's glory. He thinks that if he wears the belt of the rapper, he shares in the rapper's status. This is sympathetic magic, a primitive, superstitious belief that holding the totem of the god gives you the power of the god. It is a hallucination. The brand does not transfer status to you. It extracts status from you to validate itself. The luxury brand needs the cool kids to wear it to maintain its relevance. You are the battery powering their myth. When a man has no achievements of his own, he must wear the achievements of a corporation. The architect understands that high status comes from being the brand, not wearing it. The moment you put on a giant logo, you are signaling, I'm a fan, I'm a follower, I'm a consumer. You are explicitly stating that you are not a creator. A creator builds his own name. A consumer wears someone else's. Let us dig deeper into the Veblen-Good paradox and the poverty of signaling. Thorstein Veblen identified that people buy useless, expensive things to signal that they have resources to waste. But in the modern era, this has mutated into a trap for the poor. The loud luxury brands, the ones with the monograms, the giant buckles, the neon branding, are specifically targeted at the aspirational poor. They are designed to extract wealth from people who cannot afford them. The wealthy, the generational wealth, the powerful, the architects, operate on a code of quiet luxury or stealth wealth. They wear unbranded cashmere. They wear bespoke suits. They wear garments where the quality of the material speaks, but the label is silent. Why? Because they do not need to prove anything to the stranger at the airport. They know who they are. Their bank account knows who they are. The soft man, living paycheck to paycheck, is terrified of being perceived as poor, so he spends his liquidity on a costume of wealth. He buys the Gucci shirt with the biggest logo because he needs the maximum signal-to-price ratio. He needs everyone to know he spent $500. If the logo was small, he feels ripped off. This is the psychology of the serf. He is trying to buy his way out of the hierarchy using the very chains that bind him. He is signaling, I have money, while proving I have bad judgment. True status is indifference. The man who wears a plain black t-shirt and commands the room is infinitely higher status than the man in the Balenciaga hoodie who looks at the floor. The logo is a crutch for a broken ego. We must also confront the corporate colonization of the body. Your body is your primary real estate. It is the physical manifestation of your will. When you drape it in corporate heraldry, you are allowing a foreign entity to colonize your territory. You are becoming a vassal state. Look at the modern streetwear culture. It is a cult of consumption. People camp out for days to buy a drop. They treat a sneaker release like a religious event. This is brand fundamentalism. The corporation has hacked the religious circuitry of the brain. They have created a church where the logo is the cross, the store is the cathedral, and the purchase is the tithe. The architect rejects this theology. He refuses to let his physical form be used as a canvas for a marketing campaign he didn't approve. He understands that white space is power. A blank shirt is a statement of neutrality and potential. It says, I am the focus here. A branded shirt says, look at this company. When you walk into a high-stakes meeting or a date or a negotiation, you want their attention on your face, your words, your eyes. You do not want the attention hijacked by a swoosh or a tiger or a double G. Every pixel of your visual presentation that is dedicated to a brand is a pixel stolen from your own personal authority. You are diluting your signal with their noise. Let us analyze the economics of free labor. If you walked into an advertising agency and said, I will carry a sandwich board for McDonald's around the city for 10 hours a day and I will pay you $50 for the board, they would have you committed to an asylum. Yet, this is exactly what you do when you buy a branded hoodie. You are providing mobile impressions. You are validating the brand's social proof. You are working, and you are paying for the equipment to do the work. The architect demands equity. If I'm going to endorse a product, I need a check. I need points on the back end. I need ownership. If I'm not getting paid, I'm not advertising. This mercenary mindset is crucial. It stops you from being a fanboy. A fanboy gives his energy away. A mercenary sells his energy or keeps it. By refusing to wear visible logos, you are enforcing a copyright on your own image. You are saying, this space is not for sale. This subtly terrifies the average person because it signals a level of self-respect they cannot comprehend. They are so used to being owned that a man who owns himself looks like an alien. We must then address the tribal camouflage and the fear of standing out. Often, men wear brands not to show off, but to fit in. The Patagonia vest in finance, the Carhartt beanie in the creative field, the Under Armour polo in the suburbs. These are uniforms of conformity. They signal, I am one of you, I am safe, I follow the rules. The soft man wears the uniform because he is afraid of the question, who are you? If he wears the uniform, the answer is provided by the clothes. I'm a finance bro or I'm a skiter. The clothes do the talking so he doesn't have to. The architect refuses the uniform. He dresses in a way that is agnostic. He creates a personal silhouette that is timeless and devoid of tribal markings. This forces people to engage with him, not his tribe. It creates social friction, which, as we established, is the forge of dominance. When you do not wear the badge of the tribe, you are unpredictable. You are a wild card. This makes you dangerous. And in the biology of power, dangerous is good, safe is dead. We must also examine the counterfeit quality argument. The civilian argues, but I buy this brand because the quality is better. This is the rationalization of the addict. While it is true that a $500 jacket is better than a $20 jacket, it is rarely better than a $200 unbranded jacket. You are paying the brand tax. The difference between the manufacturing cost and the retail price of a luxury item is often 1,000% to 2,000%. That margin is the cost of the marketing required to brainwash you. You are paying for the billboards, the celebrity endorsements, and the fashion shows. You are funding the very machine that is programming you. The architect seeks intrinsic value. He looks at the stitching, the fabric weight, the cut. He buys private label or high-end unbranded gear where the money went into the product, not the hype. He understands that a logo is often a distraction from poor craftsmanship. A brand that relies on its logo is usually hiding the fact that its quality has declined. The logo is the magician's hand, waving to distract while they swap the cashmere for a synthetic blend. The architect looks at the material reality, not the symbolic hallucination. Let us dig deeper into the sartorial sovereignty. What you wear is the packaging of your soul. If your packaging is covered in other people's graffiti, what does that say about the contents? It says the contents are generic. When you strip away the logos, you are left with fit and fitness. This is the ultimate truth. A $10 t-shirt on a man with a hardcore physique, as discussed in the previous protocol, looks like a $1,000 custom garment. A $1,000 branded t-shirt on a soft man looks like a tarp on a pile of mashed potatoes. The brand is often used to hide the body. The architect builds the body so he doesn't need the brand. He uses his physique as the status signal. I am in shape is a signal that cannot be bought. It must be earned. I'm wearing Gucci is a signal that can be bought on credit by any fool. The biological hierarchy respects the earned signal and despises the bought signal. When you wear the logo, you are trying to buy the honor, but honor cannot be purchased. By removing the logo, you force the world to judge you on your merit, your posture, and your presence. You enter the arena naked of symbols, armed only with your reality. Finally, in this first phase of the analysis, we must look at the global homogenization. Go to Tokyo, New York, London, or Dubai. Everyone looks the same. They are all wearing the same 5 global mega brands. They are global citizens, which means they are citizens of nowhere. They have lost their local flavor, their individual idiosyncrasy, and their soul. They are units of consumption. The architect resists this. He cultivates a style that is idiosyncratic. He might wear a vintage piece, a custom piece, or something functional from a workwear store that has no fashion pretension. He strives to be uncategorizable. If the algorithm cannot categorize you, it cannot sell to you. If the people cannot categorize you, they cannot dismiss you. You become a puzzle. And the human brain is wired to be fascinated by puzzles. By refusing the label, you become the enigma. You create mystique. In a world of oversharing and overbranding, mystique is the most rare and valuable currency. Do not be a billboard. Be a mystery. Be a fortress. Be a man who has no name on his chest but his own, metaphorically etched by his deeds. The logo is the collar. Take it off. We now transition to the tactical debranding protocol. Phase 1 was the diagnosis of the slave mind. Phase 2 is the execution of the sovereign aesthetic. We must understand that removing logos is not just a fashion choice. It is an act of visual silence. In a world of screaming noise, silence is the loudest sound. When you walk into a room wearing a crisp, unbranded navy suit or a perfectly fitted black t-shirt, you create a visual void. The eye has nowhere to latch onto but your face. This is forced eye contact. The soft man wears the logo to give the other person's eye a safe place to land. Oh, nice shoes. It's a conversation crutch. By removing the crutch, you force the interaction to be about substance. You are raising the stakes of the social interaction. You are demanding a higher level of engagement. This intimidates the weak and intrigues the strong. You are filtering your network simply by getting dressed. We must then analyze the customization of the archetype. The architect does not follow trends. He builds an armor. He identifies the 3 to 4 items that function for his mission, and he buys them in bulk, unbranded. This is the Steve Jobs protocol or the Obama protocol, but applied with more aggression. By wearing a consistent, logo-free uniform, you reduce decision fatigue. You save your limited daily willpower for business and war, not for matching patterns. But more importantly, you turn yourself into the icon. When people think of you, they visualize you, not the brand you are wearing. You become the symbol. If you wear a Nike shirt every day, you are a Nike mascot. If you wear a black t-shirt every day, the black t-shirt becomes your trademark. You have stolen the branding power back. You have colonialized the generic. You take a generic item and imbue it with your meaning. This is what true style is, the dominance of the man over the cloth. Let us dig deeper into the audit of the closet. You must perform a violent purge. Open your wardrobe. Look at every item. Ask the question, am I paying this company or are they paying me? If there is a visible logo larger than a coin, it goes. Donate it to the civilians. They need the costumes. If you love the fit but hate the logo, use a seam ripper. Remove the tag. Black it out. This act of destruction is therapeutic. It is a ritual of reclaiming your property. When you cut the label off a pair of jeans, you are legally modifying the product. You are telling the object, you are mine now. You serve me. You do not speak for Levi's. You speak for me. This tactical modification creates a wardrobe that is uniquely yours. It adds a layer of wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection and usage. A jacket that has been debranded and worn for 10 years has patina. Patina is the opposite of brand. Brand is new, plastic, and shallow. Patina is old, deep, and soulful. It signals old money values even if you are self-made. It signals that you value longevity over novelty. We must also discuss the supply chain of sovereignty. Where do you buy if you don't buy the big brands? You support the artisan and the specialist. You find the guy in Japan who weaves denim on old looms. You find the tailor in Italy or your local city who cuts fabric. When you buy from a maker, you are entering a human relationship. You are trading your energy for his mastery. There is no corporate intermediary skimming the value. This energy is clean. When you wear a suit made by a man you shook hands with, you feel the weight of craft. It empowers you. You are wearing his reputation, and he is a master. This is a power alliance. Wearing a mass-produced item made by slave labor in a sweatshop carries a vibrational heaviness. It is the product of suffering. Wearing a custom item carries the vibration of pride. The architect is sensitive to these energies. He wants his armor to be forged in pride, not misery. Let us analyze the strategic ambiguity of the unbranded man. In a negotiation, knowledge is power. If I see you wearing a Rolex Submariner and a Gucci belt, I have a dossier on you. I know your income bracket or your credit limit. I know your psychological need for validation. And I know you are easily influenced by marketing. I can manipulate you. I can upsell you. You have revealed your hand before the cards are dealt. The unbranded man is a ghost. I look at his watch. It's vintage, unidentifiable. I look at his shoes. Quality leather, no markings. I cannot peg his income. Is he a billionaire or a minimalist teacher? I don't know. This ambiguity ambiguity makes me cautious. I have to treat him with respect because he could be the most powerful man in the room. By withholding the data of your consumer profile, you maintain the information asymmetry. You know who they are because they are branded sheep, but they don't know who you are. This is a tactical advantage in the biology of commerce. We must then confront the aesthetic of capability. The architect's clothing should signal readiness. The logo is a delicate thing. It creates a preciousness. You don't want to get the logo dirty. You don't want to scratch the print. This makes you physically tentative. The unbranded, rugged gear of the architect encourages kinetic engagement. You are not afraid to get dirty. You're not afraid to run, lift, or fight in your clothes. Your clothes are tools, not assets. The soft man treats his sneakers like assets. He cleans them with a toothbrush. This is pathetic. It shows he is a slave to the object. The architect treats his boots like tools. He beats them up. The scuffs and the dirt are the battle scars of a life lived in the arena. This signals to the world that you are an operator, not a collector. Women, biologically, are drawn to the operator. They are drawn to the man who can handle the physical world, not the man who is worried about creasing his limited edition Jordans. One is a protector, the other is a child. Finally, we arrive at the legacy of the name. The ultimate goal of the architect is to turn his own name into the only brand that matters. You want your signature to be worth more than a Louis Vuitton stamp. You achieve this by pouring all that status energy you used to waste on shopping into building. You build your body, your business, your family, your intellect. You become a force of nature. When you have done this, anything you wear becomes cool simply because you are wearing it. If Elon Musk wears a generic bandana, the bandana becomes iconic, not because of the bandana, but because of the man. This is the transference of mana. The brand tries to transfer mana to you and fails. You must generate so much mana that you transfer it to the objects you touch. This is the Midas touch. The sovereign man ennobles the cloth. The cloth does not ennoble the man. The directive is absolute. Break the spell. Stop being a billboard for men who despise you. Stop paying to work. Strip the sigils from your chest. Reclaim your visual territory. Dress like a spy. Operate like a warlord. And build a reputation so heavy that it crushes any logo that tries to compete with it. You are the brand. The rest is just fabric. We initiate phase 2 of the Brandomania deprogramming, the protocol of visual sovereignty. Phase 1 was the diagnosis of the slave mind. Phase 2 is the operational manual for the insurrection. We must start by internalizing the concept of the gray man. In intelligence and special operations, the gray man is an operative who possesses lethal skills and immense resources, but moves through the environment completely unnoticed. He is unmemorable to the civilian eye, but distinct to the trained eye. The soft man, covered in neon logos and supreme branding, is a high contrast target. He screams for attention. He screams, "Rob me, judge me, or validate me." He triggers the predator instincts of criminals and the marketing algorithms of corporations. The architect adopts the gray man aesthetic not out of fear, but out of strategic ambiguity. When you walk into a room wearing unbranded, perfectly fitted dark clothing, you become a Rorschach test. The observer cannot immediately categorize you. Are you a billionaire tech founder, a mercenary, an artist, a nobody? This confusion is your first line of defense and your first weapon of offense. In the split second they spend trying to figure you out, you have already assessed the room. You have maintained the OODA loop advantage. You are operating in the shadows of their perception while they are dancing in the spotlight of their own insecurity. We must then execute the wardrobe audit and purge. This is not a housekeeping task. It is a ritualistic sacrifice of your former, weaker self. You must physically go to your closet and pull out every single item that acts as a billboard for a multinational corporation. You look at that $80 t-shirt with the logo across the chest. You realize that you paid $80 for $2 worth of cotton and $78 worth of validation. That shirt is an artifact of your own gullibility. You have two choices: destruct or donate. If the item is high quality but branded, like a jacket with a patch, you perform tactical modification. You take a seam ripper or a sharp knife and you carefully excise the brand. This act is profound. It is property reclamation. When you buy a car, you don't leave the dealership sticker on the bumper. You take it off because it's your car. Why do you leave the sticker on your chest? By cutting the tag, you are telling the object, "You serve me now." You are no longer a representative of the North Face. You are a tool for your name. If the logo is printed and cannot be removed, the item is dead. It is a casualty of the war. Get rid of it. Do not wear it around the house. If you wear the slave uniform in private, you will think like a slave in private. You must curate your environment so that every reflection in the mirror shows a sovereign man, not a billboard. We must dig deeper into the economics of the artisan alliance. The soft man gives his money to LVMH, Kering, or Nike, faceless conglomerates traded on the stock market, run by boards who despise the consumer. These companies use the profits to fund ideologies you likely disagree with and to lobby for laws that restrict your freedom. The architect engages in economic warfare by shifting his capital to the maker class. Instead of a $2,000 branded suit, he spends $2,000 with a local tailor or a small Japanese denim house. When you buy from a maker, a human being who cuts the fabric and sews the hem, you are participating in an energy exchange. You are feeding a family, not a stock price. You are keeping the craft alive. But more importantly, the garment carries a different vibration. A mass-produced item carries the vibration of the assembly line: indifference, speed, cheapness. A bespoke item carries the vibration of the master: patience, pride, excellence. When you wear the master's work, you stand taller. You feel the weight of the integrity in the stitching. This is sartorial armor. You are wrapping yourself in excellence. This subconsciously raises your own standard of behavior. You cannot act like a clown when you are wearing a suit made by a man who spent 40 hours perfecting the lapel. The clothing demands that you live up to it. We must also analyze the uniform of the operator. The architect views clothing as loadout. Every morning is a deployment. You do not know if today you will be in a boardroom, a street fight, or a spontaneous sprint to catch a flight. Your clothing must handle the full spectrum of kinetic reality. The soft man wears fragile fabrics, restrictive cuts, and shoes he is afraid to crease. He has rendered himself functionally obsolete. He is a display model. The architect wears the high-low hybrid. He wears boots that can kick down a door but look polished enough for dinner. He wears pants with stretch and durability, gusseted crotches that allow for a deep squat or a high kick. He wears jackets that are water-resistant and have strategic pockets. This is the aesthetic of readiness. When you dress like this, you signal to the world and to women who detect this biologically that you are capable. You are not just a decorative object, you are an active participant in the physical world. This capability is the ultimate status symbol. It says, I am ready for the chaos. In a fragile world, the man who is ready for chaos is the king. Let us confront the false god of resale value. The hype beast justifies his purchase of $1,000 sneakers by saying, I can resell them later. This is the pawn shop mindset. You are not buying clothing. You are holding inventory for a corporation. You are speculating on bubbles. The architect buys items with intrinsic utility that he intends to use until destruction. You should want to wear your boots until the leather cracks and the sole wears through. That is ROI, return on investment. The ROI comes from the adventures you had in the boots, the deals you closed in the suit, the life you lived in the jacket. It does not come from selling it to another fool on StockX. You must break the attachment to the future monetary value of your clothes. If you are worried about the resale value, you cannot truly own the item. You are just renting it. To be sovereign, you must be willing to destroy the asset through use. This creates patina. Patina is the scratches on the leather, the fading of the denim, the fraying of the canvas. Patina cannot be bought. It is the physical proof of a life lived aggressively. A brand new branded jacket says, I bought this yesterday. A battered, unbranded leather jacket says, I have survived. The latter commands infinite respect. We must then address the white space power dynamic. In graphic design, white space, negative space, is used to create focus and elegance. In style, white space is the absence of logos. When you remove the noise of the brands, you create a visual vacuum that draws the eye to the essential variables: your face, your hands, your posture. The soft man uses the logo to distract from his face, which shows fear, and his posture, which shows weakness. He hides behind the Gucci tiger. The architect removes the hiding spots. He forces the viewer to engage with his biological reality. This requires extreme confidence. You are essentially saying, I am enough. My face is the logo. My reputation is the brand. This is naked dominance. It unsettles people because they are used to interacting with representatives of brands, not with raw humans. You become a high-fidelity signal in a noisy room. You are the only thing that is real. This makes you memorable. People will not remember the guy in the Supreme hoodie. They will remember the man. We must also integrate the Steve Jobs algorithm, or the decision fatigue protocol. The brain has a finite amount of decision capital each day. Every time you agonize over matching your belt to your branded shoes, you are burning capital that should be used to build your empire. The architect establishes a personal uniform. He finds the perfect unbranded black t-shirt, the perfect raw denim, the perfect boot, and he buys 10 of them. He automates the mourning. He puts on the armor without thinking. This consistency creates an iconic silhouette. Think of Johnny Cash, Man in Black, Steve Jobs, mock turtleneck, or Karl Lagerfeld. They look the same every day. They became characters in the theater of life. By stabilizing your visual output, you make yourself a constant in a variable world. People begin to rely on your consistency. You become an institution. You are not into fashion. You are above fashion. Fashion is for the people who need to be told who to be. Style is for the men who know who they are. Let us dig deeper into the class warfare of the logo. We must be honest about who wears what. The old money, the true architects of the system, almost never wear visible logos. They wear Loro Piana, Brunello Cucinelli, Bespoke Savile Row. The new money and the proles wear the giant logos. The logo is a class marker that signals, I am trying to prove I belong. By wearing the logo, you are ironically signaling that you do not belong at the top table. You are signaling that you are nouveau or aspirational. To sit at the top table, you must speak the language of stealth wealth. You must understand that true luxury is about privacy, not publicity. The billionaire does not want you to know he is wearing a $5,000 sweater. He wants other billionaires to know via the subtle code of the fabric quality, but he wants the masses to ignore him. This is protective camouflage. The architect adopts this code. He dresses to be respected by the elite, not to be envied by the street. Envy is a dangerous energy. It attracts parasites. Respect is a constructive energy. It attracts partners. We must also examine the psychological pivot to producer. The ultimate goal of removing the logo is to shift your brain from consumer mode to producer mode. A consumer defines himself by what he buys. A producer defines himself by what he builds. When you stop obsessing over the next drop, you free up massive amounts of mental bandwidth. You take the energy you used to spend scrolling Farfetch or Hypebeast and you pour it into your creation stack. You build your body, the ultimate outfit. You build your business. You build your network. You realize that the only name that should be on your chest is your own name, metaphorically. You start treating yourself as the luxury brand. You invest in your own R&D, education, your own packaging, grooming/fitness, and your own marketing, your work. You become the head of marketing for You Inc. instead of an unpaid intern for Balenciaga. This shift is the turning point. The moment you stop paying them to advertise and start demanding they pay you or simply ignoring them, you have broken the chain. Finally, we arrive at the legacy of the unbranded. When you look back at the photos of the greatest men in history, Hemingway, JFK, McQueen, you do not see logos. You see men. You see texture. You see grit. You see style that is detached from the commercial cycle of their era. They are timeless because they did not tether themselves to a passing trend. If you wear a 2024 Balenciaga logo shirt in a photo, in 2030 you will look like a clown. You will look dated. If you wear a plain white t-shirt and vintage jeans, in 2030 you will look exactly the same. Classic. The architect plays the long game. He wants his image to age like wine, not like milk. He refuses to be a timestamp of a marketing fad. He strives for visual immortality. By removing the brand, you remove the expiration date. You exist outside of time. You are just a man in his prime, dealing with the world on his own terms. The directive: go home, open the closet. If it screams a name that isn't yours, kill it. If it signals a status you haven't earned, burn it. Rebuild your armor with silence, quality, and functionality. Force the world to look you in the eye. You are not a billboard. You are the architect. Act like it.